Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we are tackling a topic that strikes right at the absolute core of our professional identities. We're exploring the future of human value in the AI era. More specifically, we're diving into a fascinating concept called the judgment gap. Now, if you've been watching the rapid advancements in artificial intelligence, you already know the landscape is shifting literally every single day. But listen, we aren't here to talk about the hype, and we are definitely not here to doom scroll. We're here to get laser-focused, structured, and strategic about what makes your human mind the ultimate premium asset in a world of thinking machines.
So there's this question that almost every professional is quietly asking right now. You might not be saying it out loud in your team meetings, but it's totally lingering in the back of your mind. If AI can do my job, what exactly is my value? What do I actually bring to the table that the machine doesn't? And hey, it's a completely legitimate anxiety, but the usual answers we keep hearing, stuff like empathy or creativity or building relationships, they can feel, well, a bit vague or frankly, just a little defensive. Today, we're going to look at a much more concrete answer, one rooted in this really powerful idea that AI doesn't necessarily lower the ceiling of human potential. Actually, it raises the floor.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the raised floor. Then, the trap of good-looking wrong. From there, we'll be defining judgment, breaking down the 5 elements of judgment, and wrapping up with the Trinity core thesis.
All right, Section 1, the raised floor. This is what happens when average simply becomes table stakes. We really need to understand the mechanical shift that's rewiring the entire knowledge work industry right now. Think about it. Before AI, producing even just average, decent work took real effort, time, and skill. You probably remember the days of a senior analyst working heads down for 2 entire days just to build a baseline report. But now, average work is just instant. A junior analyst armed with a couple of good AI prompting skills can churn out that exact same comprehensive report in minutes. A brand new hire can instantly answer these highly complex customer queries that used to take months or even years of on-the-job experience to handle properly. The baseline of what we consider work has fundamentally changed.
Let's visualize this. Imagine a massive football field. The floor of that field is the ground that absolutely everyone stands on. Now imagine someone magically raises that entire floor by 2 full meters. Boom! Everyone on the field is suddenly standing 2 meters higher. The minimum standard of output has gone up for everyone, simultaneously and instantly.
Which honestly sounds fantastic on the surface, right? But here's the catch. When the floor goes up, average completely stops being a differentiator. If everyone in your industry can produce decent output with AI, and trust me, they absolutely can, then decent output is no longer inherently valuable, it's just the minimum requirement to play the game. It is table stakes. So the big question you have to ask yourself is what exists above that floor? What actually separates the genuinely valuable professionals from the people who are merely using tools just to keep up? Moving on to Section 2, the trap of good-looking wrong. To figure out your true value above that raised floor, we have to look at the absolute biggest danger in this new landscape, and that is AI's fundamental lack of context. Look at these 4 real-world examples. In all of them, the AI produced output that looked grammatically perfect, logically coherent, and incredibly confident. But in every single case, the output was fundamentally wrong because it lacked human context. In marketing, AI confidently misattributed customer acquisition. In legal, it summarized beautifully but totally missed the deal breaker. Over in finance, the math was spot on, but the tone was dangerously optimistic. And in product development, it brainstormed these great ideas that the company had already tried and abandoned years ago. Let's zoom in on that marketing example for a second. The AI generated this beautifully formatted table with crisp column headers and a super confident conclusion. Email is your top channel, contributing 43% of new customers. The marketing team was literally about to slash their paid search budget based on this gorgeous output. Let me just ask you directly, would you have caught the error? The AI had completely ignored paid search attribution. It didn't account for the customers who clicked an email but had actually seen a paid search ad first. The machine had zero awareness of attribution complexity. So the numbers were technically right, but the conclusion, completely wrong for the business decision at hand. Or consider the legal team. They used AI to summarize a massive, complex vendor contract. And the summary was clean, professional, entirely readable, but it completely missed a clause buried all the way on page 187 that severely limited liability. Now, the AI didn't miss it because it couldn't read the page.
It missed it because it had absolutely no context for why that specific clause mattered so enormously to this specific business relationship. The human who is reviewing the summary, they just assumed the AI would flag what was important. They never paused to ask if the AI actually knew what to look for in the first place.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core issue. A finance AI will write a variance analysis that says exactly what the numbers say, complete with a tone that implies everything is perfectly on track. But a human who understands the business trajectory, would look at those exact same numbers and flag a serious warning. It's the same thing with the product team. An AI will brainstorm features without knowing that those exact features tanked the company's revenue 2 years ago. AI writes what the data says. A valuable human writes what the data actually means. The machine fails the very second it lacks a human evaluator.
All right, Section 3, Defining Judgment.
So let's officially define the solution to this whole problem, the premium professional asset of the future. Now, judgment gets thrown around a lot as a corporate buzzword, so we need to be highly specific here. Judgment is not intelligence. AI has infinite intelligence. Judgment is not speed because the machine is always going to beat you there. And honestly, judgment isn't even really domain knowledge anymore, seeing as AI has consumed more text on your specific industry than you could read in 10 lifetimes. Judgment is the ability to evaluate. It is the ability to contextually analyze the situation and decide what is actually right, not just what confidently sounds right.
The whole dynamic has completely flipped. AI brings intelligence, speed, and endless domain knowledge. The human brings contextual evaluation and blind spot awareness. Think about this deeply for a second. As AI gets better and better at producing that average raised floor work, human judgment becomes far more scarce and incredibly valuable. Why? Because the bottleneck in the corporate world is no longer production. Producing a 50-page report is just not the hard part anymore. The bottleneck is evaluation. The bottleneck is figuring out if that beautifully formatted 50-page report is actually grounded in reality.
Which brings us to Section 4, the 5 elements of judgment.
So how do we actually build this? We need a concrete, structured framework to help you actively develop this premium skill, because judgment isn't some mysterious, innate personality trait you're just born with. It's an active, evaluative procedure, and it breaks down into these 5 specific steps: designing the inquiry, knowing the blind spots, evaluating plausibility, knowing when to override, and deciding what matters. Let's look at how these actually play out in practice. So steps 1 and 2 actually happen before the AI even does its job. First, you have to ask the right question before the data is even pulled. It's not just about giving a task, it's about designing the inquiry. And then you have to consciously know what the AI doesn't know. Every single AI has blind spots. It doesn't know your company's turbulent history. It definitely doesn't know the delicate, messy political dynamics of your biggest client relationship. The AI can't know these things, so you must. A person with real judgment actively fills in those gaps before they even think about accepting the output.
Steps 3, 4, and 5 build right on top of that foundation. When the AI hands you a data set with 50 insights, evaluating plausibility means doing a real-world sanity check. Ask yourself, does this actually make sense? Then comes step 4, which requires intellectual courage, knowing exactly when to override the machine because your domain expertise tells you it's flat out wrong. Trust me, AI will never override itself. Finally, step 5 is deciding what matters. Out of those 50 insights, a machine thinks they are all equally important. Human judgment prioritizes the 3 actionable insights under uncertainty and discards the 47 irrelevant ones. That kind of prioritization is a uniquely human skill.
Finally, Section 5, the Trinity Course Thesis.
Let's look at the practical application of these exact concepts in the real enterprise world. Right now, almost all AI training programs focus entirely on tools. They teach you how to write prompts, how to open ChatGPT, how to set up an AI agent. But here's the hard truth. Tools are incredibly easy to learn. The interfaces are getting smoother every single day. You can watch a quick tutorial and master the tool in like 20 minutes. What is entirely hard to learn, which you absolutely cannot master in a quick afternoon, is the judgment layer. Knowing how to evaluate what the AI produces, spotting that confident but wrong answer, and knowing exactly when to actually trust the machine.
And this is exactly the gap that Trinity Corp is addressing. They specifically target mid to large organizations. We're talking those in the 200 to 1,200 employee range. These are the companies that are serious about actual AI implementation, not just playing around with cool new toys. And in these enterprise spaces, Trinity Corp knows the real hurdle isn't getting employees access to software. It's building teams equipped with rigorous critical thinking. Their entire focus on building AI judgment, passing right over basic surface-level AI awareness. The future of knowledge work belongs to the professionals who truly understand the shift. You can no longer just be a producer of content. The AI is the producer now. You have to elevate your role to the director. Don't just use AI, direct it, evaluate it, and most importantly, know when it is dead wrong. The teams that are going to succeed going forward are the ones where people have both the technical understanding to use the tool and the raw human judgment to oversee the machine.
Now, developing this judgment doesn't just happen by accident. It requires deliberate, repeated practice. Every single time you interact with an AI, you are training your evaluative muscles. If you want to build this systematically for yourself or your entire team, you've got to dive deeper into these concepts. From the source material for today's explainer, you can find a lot more by subscribing to their YouTube channel at youtube.com/@Sahil_AI Academy, where they post in-depth daily content covering exactly these frameworks. And if you're looking at this from an enterprise level, definitely visit trinitycorps.org to see how they actually build this judgment layer for serious teams. I'll leave you with this final, crucial thought. The very next time you type a prompt into an AI, before you accept its perfect-looking answer, before you send off that email or finalize that big report, I want you to just pause, look at the screen, and ask yourself one simple, powerful question. What context does the AI not have? Your entire professional value lies in the answer to that question. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.